Very good evening all. I'm Aditi Lamba with the Tues and Night edition of South Asia News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. Globally, there are more than 27.4 million cases of COVID-19 with at least 898,000 deaths. The US has more than 6.3 million with at least 189,000 deaths. This comes as overall cases are on a decline in the country despite the current surges in Midwest such as North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and others. Many hospitals, however, still have vulnerable and compromised patients. So we'd like to again remind all to continue their practice of social distancing, washing hands, and most importantly, wearing a mask, as they have been our greatest weapons against the novel virus. Experts have offered a grim prediction for fall and winter with the current pandemic, the flu season, and reopening of schools and colleges. Many students across the nation started their school today with hybrid, in-person, or online system. 16 of the nation's largest districts began their school year, with 14 of them beginning the school year entirely online. On schools here in New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo said that the state will publicly disclose a COVID-19 report card for every school. Looking at colleges, all states are reporting positive cases comprising of more than 37,000 COVID-19 cases amongst college students and staff all across the nation. The New York Department of Health is requiring now all colleges to notify the state when they have more than 100 COVID-19 cases, and those colleges may be required to transition to remote learning. On vaccine, 9 biopharmaceutical companies issued a letter pledging to keep politics out of science and said that they will fully vet their COVID-19 vaccines before asking for federal approval to market the vaccination. On the subject, infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci said that it's unlikely to have an approved vaccine by November's election day, a response to President Trump's claims of getting vaccine before election day, November 3rd. He also stated and recommended that people get their vaccinated with influenza vaccine as the flu season approaches in the country. Lots happening tonight in the nation, so we'd like to hear from our viewers on the pandemic, the economy, and just your personal experience. Write to us on events@itvgold.com. We look forward to continue featuring our diaspora and its needs. With that, it's now time to begin tonight's episode of South Asian News, highlighting mental health during COVID, along with culture and language. Here are the headlines. The Culture Tree presents interaction with Jugal Hansraj on cross-connection and acting, Consulate Journal of India, New York. ITV Gold exclusive featuring hip-hop artist and singer Ishq Bector on new single Jungle, and more, Canada. Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev addresses How Can We Overcome Negative Thoughts, Isha Foundation. Time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia, Tuesday night episode of South Asian News. Looking at the coronavirus pandemic impact and measures, we are talking today about maintaining good mental health and its awareness. The COVID-19 crisis has definitely brought with it a mental health crisis in the United States, with many dealing with anxiety and depression, as stated by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. A growing number of Americans here are struggling with issues linked to worry and stress over the novel virus, increasing anxiety and depression by 40%. Along with that, social isolation, loneliness, job loss, and economic worries, as well as fear of contracting the virus, are all factors cited to contribute to people's mental health problems, creating very often a negative state of mind. So how does one fight this negativity and stay on a more peaceful path with better mental health? Renowned leader and author Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev sheds light on how can we overcome negative thoughts, bringing in a perspective that will resonate with many. Sadhguru, a yogi and mystic, is a visionary humanitarian and spiritual leader working tirelessly towards physical, mental, and spiritual well-being for all. Here's what he had to say about overcoming negative thoughts.
So this was almost maybe 18, 20 years ago, maybe a little more than 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago. Must have been in 87 or 88. I was just new in Tamil Nadu. I was doing a program in Tirupur town, Then people told me there is one Kodi Swami. I said, why is it Kodi Swami? Kodi means 10 million, okay, it's a number. It's just that the man keeps saying Kodi, Kodi, Kodi. So people believe that they will get millions if they go to him. They said, Kodi Swami. I said, I'm not interested in seeing any Swami. Then they said, no, a lot of people, they get wealth if they go there. I said, I'm not interested. Then they said, this man does not shit. Then I thought, okay, I want to see this man. If a man does not shit, either he must be incredibly clean or he must be full of shit. Isn't it? So I said, I want to see this man who does not shit. So in morning I finished my program, evening again I had another session. So in between we drove, which was maybe a little over 150 kilometers probably from where we were, and we just drove. So we went to one place, it's one of those old, zamindari homes, like old landlords live in large houses. At one time they had huge acres of land and servants and things, so they managed them in pomp. But later on, government passed a law that nobody can own land more than this much size, so the house was oversized. It's like the colonial homes, And usually they're very dilapidated and in bad condition because they don't have the money to maintain the huge house. So somebody has housed this man, it may not be his house, somebody's housed him in a place like that, which is an extreme state of… it's a ruin house, okay? It's like if you look at it from outside, you wouldn't think anybody's living there. It's an abandoned kind of home, full of… it's overgrown with all kinds of stuff all over the place and full of cobwebs, and it's a classic, haunted homes, abandoned, haunted kind of home, everything falling apart. I thought, okay, some millionaire, okay. And I walked in and there was an open yard and there was an attic on which he's supposed to be there, and there were a few women who were attending to him. And I climbed up the attic, and there was a huge… maybe you have not seen, in India, in the dramas and in some people's weddings, they use huge throne-like chair, this big back and this big. It's not made for a human being, it's made for an elephant-sized ego. No human being can fit into it, he'll be so small. It's not made for the human body, it's made for the human ego. Big chair. Obviously it won't be comfortable, but that kind of a chair. And that too not… there are some which are expensive chairs like that. This is one of those typical drama chairs with all gold paper stuck to it, gold and red and because Hindu heaven is all gold and red, that's the decor, remember. In case in your dream it comes, you must know when you're in heaven, The decor will be all red and gold.
Let's now take a look at the very popular place for cultural integration, language and arts. We are talking about the Culture Tree and its ongoing programs and events. Cultural and diversity advocate for cultural literacy and equity in children's programming and education. The Culture Tree enables the youngest generation of South Asians residing in the United States towards their cultural heritage, its language and arts. Instilling a deeply sensitive connection to one's own South Asian roots, the Culture Tree has been presenting several virtual events featuring South Asian prominent celebrities, actors, authors, cultural icons, and many more to empower more children of the South Asian community, giving them glimpses of all that the culture and its people have to offer. Recently, such a virtual event was organized by the Culture Tree in collaboration with the Consulate General of India, New York, featuring popular Bollywood actor, director, and writer Jugal Hansraj. The event saw much discussing on Jugal Hansraj's successful journey in the world of acting and writing, and saw a book reading of Jugal Hansraj's children's novel titled Cross Connection. Here are some highlights featuring the Culture Tree students and Jugal Hansraj.
I love to write. I think I also want to write a book. How did you decide what you wanted to write about?
Firstly, hi Ved. I think it's great that you love to write because since I was your age, I've been reading a lot of books, and around that time, I also actually started writing. I used to read a lot of stories, and I had a lot of stories in my head, so I would write them and get my mom to correct them for me, or for her to tell me if it's nice or not nice. So I think it's just great. The advice I would give you is, people will say this is what people like and that is what people. I think just write what you like. I think that's the first thing you can do is if you're enjoying it, chances are that most people who read it will enjoy it. So stick to what you like, stick to what you know, stick to what you believe in, and then automatically you'll see that it's coming out much better than if you try and, oh, this one told me I should write a story like this, or that friend told me, or that uncle or aunt told me to write a story like this. I think just write for the fun of it and write what you would like to read. If you like to read books and you want to know a kind of story, but no one's written it yet, you write it. That's the best advice I can give you. And how I started writing is, as I said, at your age, I used to write a lot of stories. I used to even draw uh, an illustration per chapter. Not very well, but it was a good, fun hobby for me. But when I grew up, the first thing I wrote professionally was my first film as writer and director was Roadside Romeo. It was an animation film for Disney, and I wrote that film because as I started writing the story, I got more and more attached to it. I had a lot of ideas. I just kept putting them down. And it took a long time. There was a lot of sending back of the drafts to me. I had to redo a lot of stuff. But that's okay. That's what writing is. Writing is about rewriting. So if you enjoy the process, it's great. That's how I first got into writing. So good luck. And I look forward to hopefully reading some great books or articles or stories from you. So this is the first book I've written. Actually, I have it right here. So it's got a lot of illustrations, and it's for like kids from 6 to. Let me show you some illustrations, like 6 to 10, and it's a lot of fun. So this is my first book. My second book I just completed writing. That's for little older kids. That's for roughly middle graders, I would say, and so that's still to get published. So I hope it's published soon, and I'll let you all guys know through Culture Tree when it does get published.
That's excellent. Ved, you had a follow-up question? You had your hand up?
I also was writing. I've also just written 2 pages of a nonfiction book.
Wow.
It's about crocodiles.
Wow, that's great. I love reading nonfiction too. In fact, nowadays I read more of nonfiction because you learn a lot more, right? So
Yeah.
if you're telling people about crocodiles, I think I would love to read that too. I love all this stuff, so that's great too. You can
I
write
like
books.
animals, so I
Yeah,
like animals, so I usually write nonfiction stories about animals.
that's great. You should just write what you like, as I said, and I'm sure others will like it too. Like, I would already be interested in reading this.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Great, great stuff. So it's Cross Connection, the big circus adventure, and these are all the animals in the circus. So yeah, let me show you the first illustration. That's the little bluebird on top of the branch tree. So chapter one. It sure is good to be back home, said Uncle Jerry to no one in particular, as he took a deep breath and let the crisp and clear mountain air fill his lungs. He adjusted his spectacles and looked up at the sky, which was just starting to turn a light shade of pink. He had enjoyed his last few weeks with his brothers and sisters and their families who lived in the plains, but he was now back where he belonged. He smiled as he sprung from his perch and took flight. Oops, I'm sorry, dear reader. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. You must be wondering what this is all about. Let me backtrack a little bit and introduce you to Uncle Jerry and where we are in the story so that there's no confusion. As a wise old man, don't ask me who I've forgotten now, said, let's begin at the beginning. Our story begins in the outskirts of a charming little hill station called Kamalpur, nestled in the towering Himalayas in North India. Though it was towards the end of the winter season, the mountains still had their snow caps on. Perched atop one of the higher branches of a big, beautiful green oak tree was the wise old bluebird, Mr. Jerry Atchison.
It's time for another short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. And welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. We have now an exclusive conversation with hip-hop artist, singer, songwriter, and composer Ishq Bector. The name behind famous A-hip-hopper's song, Ishq Bector has been known for his versatility and fusion of music, giving Bollywood a genre which celebrates traditional Hindustani classical and folk music with hip-hop from the West. Ishq Bector joined us from Canada discussing much on Desi hip-hop's creation in the Indian music industry and his personal journey and take on music, along with his recently released new single, Jungle. The soulful folk and rap new single is topically based on the current pandemic, featuring actress Jyoti Singh, and has been fully produced, composed, mixed, and mastered by Ishq Bector himself. Sharing much on the inspiration behind the new track and more, here is a segment of our conversation with Ishq Bector. Do stay tuned on to ITV Gold for the full interview release very soon. Since you are a jack of all trades, from producing music to writing it, from being a rapper to being a songwriter, you've kind of done it all. What were some of your earliest memories of music, where you truly connected with the art? What are some of the inspirations that you remember that you had growing up?
While growing up, I listened to a lot of my parents' music, Bollywood. Back in the days, they would listen to like 50s music. So a lot of those old Indian movies, the black and white ones, like before I could choose my own music. And then once I started choosing my own music, it was more like the top 10 or top 6 at 6, where I would record them on my cassette player and then just keep listening. And I remember listening to music as I would sleep. It was always on my headphones. Like I would always have music playing in my headphones. So I think Bollywood, and then like commercial radio music, and then when I got into junior high, I like discovered hip hop. Like at that time, rap music. It wasn't even hip hop yet. It was like rap music, like Run DMC and Sugar Hill Gang and Beastie Boys and LL Cool J. And then I got possessed by it. I was like, whoa, this is so, like, it was just something else. And then I got into dancing, actually. I had like a dance crew in junior high. So we were too young to get in the club, so we would like dance in the parking lot, and we would have like battles in the parking lot because we weren't allowed in the club. So we would be outside just like battling, like dancers would show up there and we would all like battle each other. So from there I felt more deeply into music. But then after that, when I was headed towards like the end of high school, I had this crew, and our collective crew of dancers, we kind of started writing music, writing verses, writing songs. So then I became like, there was like 7 or 8 of us, and I became like the sole producer, like the music producer out of everybody, just because I was that geek who loved to stay home. I was the geek who loved to be locked up in my room and just create and produce sounds and produce beats and all that. So then everybody would come over, and I remember like Friday, Saturday, we'd have like a mic hanging from the roof, and we would all like take turns recording. And then I would spend a few days like chopping it up, editing it, and then representing it to the crew. And we had a group called The Freak Show, and we slowly like evolved into this we would perform like Broadway meets underground hip hop. Like our stage shows would be like a performance, like a play type of thing, but with music, like a musical type of thing, but rap. And then my dad brought me to, they had a pilgrimage, Mannat Mangre The. They brought me to Chintpurni Mata. They had asked, I think my dad had asked for a boy, and then he said that if he gets a boy, that he'll bring him back here, back to Chintpurni Mata's darshan karne. So they took me, that was, at the end of high school, the beginning of university. And that's when I like fell back in love with Hindustani music in that trip, because I spent like a whole month. And I think because when you're from outside, like I was born and raised in Canada, and when I got, they were just scared. Like my Indian family cousins were just scared to let me out of the house, really. You know how it is in Punjab. It's even worse for girls, right? They just don't want you to go anywhere. Right. They just like lock you up at home because they're scared that what if something happens to you, whatever. So then I was locked up and I watched like 6 movies a day, like just back to back to back to back to back. And I really just fell in love with filmy music. And at that time, I remember Rahman, Roja, and all those where he was taking over, and his musical sense just like I just totally fell intensely in love with Hindustani music. And then when I came back, my music senses changed, and then I kind of slowly discovered that I wanted to make music for the Indian global community. And then I slowly started to work my way, like finish my studies and move to Mumbai. And then I just like kind of moved there.
You have a new single that's come out, Jungle. Tell us about it. What were your expectations with it? And, you know, and the people are really responding to it. They're excited about it. So what do you have to say to all your fans?
Well, okay, Jungle is it's 2020. It's a song that I had with me for a while, but I just never, it was just in one hard drive somewhere. As like I said, the vocal arrangement was there with me for a while, but then I found it and I reproduced it. I put some new music to it, and somehow like I just found the right video team that just clicked with me, and we shot like 3 videos together. Wow. And this was one of them. And for me, I just wanted to tell a story through it. So the story is about this caveman and cave woman who are like in the forest, and then somehow they find a device that brings them to 2020. And how and for me, it's just fun to do different things with every video. Like literally, I'm like wearing a leopard skin and a staff, and I'm like rapping the song. So for me, that's interesting. That's fun, because I'm so bored of music videos. I'm so bored of like videos that are like, hey, check me out. I'm cool. I can rap, and I have girls, and I have cars. I've never been into that type of video. So for me, it's exciting to tell a story from the beginning to the end, and like to really do something that I haven't seen myself, like seen an artist do myself. So it's for me, it's the song is from the point of view of the animals and how we're taking over their habitat. It sounds kind of like a lecture song, but it's not a lecture song. Like the language in it is like so crazy, and the whole ideas in it are crazy. So I was making a song that has a social message, but doesn't feel like somebody's lecturing you, or doesn't feel like a PS, a public service announcement. It's just a song, and that's what it's about. So for me, it's really exciting. It's really exciting to do different avatars in my videos, and I'm happy about it too. Jungle.
Yeah.
मुझको निकालोगे जंगल से, लेकिन तुम जंगल को मुझ में से कैसे निकालोगे बाप? अगर जानवर बोल पाते तो क्या बोलते? मुझे यकीन है कि वो यही बोलते। जंगल में जब घुसता है इंसान भैया, फट जाती है जानवरों के कान भैया। जब घुसता है जंगल में सुपरस्टार भैया, फट जाती है जानवरों की जान भैया। इस जंगल से मुझे बचा।
And this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook @itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia. I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.